Hey everybody, this is Brad here, and I just want to give a quick video, and I haven't done a video in a while. I really haven't felt very inspired to share in a while, and so I just wanted to kind of talk a little bit about that, but mainly what I wanted to offer is a real practical way for you to experience a profound sense of relief in your life. If you're dealing with any kind of depression, anger, frustration, sadness, or disappointment. So first of all, those experiences are not bad and wrong. Now, if you're experiencing depression because it doesn't feel good, you may have an idea in your mind that depression is bad and wrong, and there's nothing wrong with that either. What happens is once we make something wrong, we tend to get stuck in it, and it recycles around. So I may make something wrong, and then I develop a coping strategy or a goal. Like, I'm depressed, and my goal is to be happy. And then from the goal of being happy comes a plan of action with a list. If I do these things, I'll be happy. And then when it doesn't work, because it's based on something that's not true underneath it, we become resentful, which makes us feel guilty, which leads us right back to the depression, which leads us to another strategy and another list of things to do, which doesn't work, which leads us back into depression or resentment, which leads us back. So a few years ago, I read Gary Renard's book, The Disappearance of the Universe. And when I first started reading it, I was really, really relieved, because in that book, his spiritual teachers talk about this concept of unconscious guilt in the mind. So unconscious guilt means that we're not aware of it at all. It's been pushed down into consciousness. So we do not see it in our current experience of reality. Our current experience of reality is colored by this unconscious guilt, but it comes out in distorted forms. Because it has been denied and suppressed, it now comes out in distorted forms. So it comes out as a reflection of what I've believed about myself. For instance, if I experience someone in the world as being selfish or cruel or uncaring, then that is a reflection of the judgment I've had of myself sometime in the past as being selfish, cruel, and uncaring. And that has to be forgiven if it is going to be, if I'm going to get relief from it. So the minute that I form a perception that's not true for me, or it doesn't resonate for me, it's pushed down into consciousness, and then it is projected out. So a quick way to work with that, when I first started reading the book, I just felt so much relief, because I thought pretty much I knew what my problems were, but I had a goal to fix them, which gave me a list of things to do, and I was doing all of them, they weren't working. And that led me to resentment of myself, because if I had done all of those things and I tried everything I could try and it didn't lead anywhere, then that must have meant to my mind that somehow I was broken or defective, or I wasn't doing it right. So that led into all kinds of cycles, and it wasn't like I didn't have periods of relief or even great joy, but there was nothing that lasted. So a quick way to begin to undo this unconscious guilt is just to begin to notice where you do have judgments of other people in life every day. Because mostly what we do is we try to push them away, because we think if we have that judgment, it means something about us. That we're bad, wrong, we're not doing it some way, and then we all try to walk around like these happy people or these good people while we're criticizing, governments and religions and each other. We have daily frustrations and angers. And if you're really committed that you want to be free of the pain that causes us, then begin to just take 3 of those instances every day where you had a judgment towards somebody or a criticism of somebody, and just write down, I'm angry with them because they are hurtful. I'm angry with them because they are cruel or uncaring. And then at the end of the day, just begin to write yourself a note. Dear Brad, I want to apologize to you for every time that I've called you hurtful, cruel, and uncaring. And say that statement very slowly to yourself. Because even if it's not on the surface of your mind where you did that, by saying that, you are taking it in to the places that you perceived yourself that way, which hurt, that were pushed down into your unconsciousness. And if you're willing to do that, and to close your eyes and sit with it, and say it very slowly, you will feel that begin to happen in your consciousness. You may not be aware of it at first, but you will begin to experience the relief and the effects of it. And then you'll start to notice where you're doing it, on a daily basis, and you can start to catch it real time. But if you will just take 3 instances every day and apologize to yourself for the judgments that you see in other people, apologize to yourself for calling you those same names. Or maybe you call yourself a name for calling them a name. Apologize to yourself for that. And the apology is not telling yourself that you did something wrong. Your apology is just taking responsibility for that the label you called yourself was not true. Those labels were taught by people who were already suffering in their life, and they had judged themselves. And that is a guilty belief system that has been taught over and over and over in this world. And it's not going to end unless it ends here. Because if it doesn't end here, I cannot help but teach it to others. So this is the miracle of A Course in Miracles to me, in a practical way to apply it, that I've learned, that's made huge inroads from my path, because I studied all kinds of paths for a long time. I applied them the best way that I knew how, but until I started doing this, I could not have any type of consistency of thought. So at the end of the course, it says this course is a beginning, not an ending. And then when I was at a place with the course where I was so frustrated that I think I had done the workbook, went through it 5 times, and never was able to do it the way that it's written to do it. Very much beating myself up about that, and very scared that I would not be able to receive what it was offering to me unless I could do that. And something guided me. I had a lot of inner resistance to putting it down, but I put it down, and this came to me. So the other thing that I would suggest is to find 3 things that you are thankful for that other people did, let's say, for you that day. Because it's oftentimes easier to find gratitude for when I'm depressed, if I could find something that other people did out of kindness. So if someone opened a door and they showed unselfishness, then again, this is a mirror of something that already exists in you. So just thank yourself and say, Brad, I also want to thank you for every time that you are unselfish. And then I like to add on to that statement, and by the way, I never thank you for that. And it's going to hit something that's so buried, because our mind, when we're experiencing any kind of a fear, our mind is split. And it's like you have a devil on one shoulder and an angel on the other shoulder, and they're bickering back and forth and fighting with one another. This is the, the ego and the superego. And when I practice this apology to myself and this thank you to myself, what happens is these two sit down and start talking things over, and they say, well, I never knew that you felt that way. I feel that way too. And that is the inner experience that I have of mind unified. And then what gets projected out is a world that is unified. And in my experience, where I used to see people bickering, I now come to see how much they love each other. And that's just how they do it. So there's no need for me to shame it and make it wrong. And if there is any love that can be brought to that situation, I am accessible to the miracle to bring it, but I won't move to it unless I'm guided to do that. And the guidance is clear. It's not questionable. It's not, I think I should, but, because there's no arguing back and forth. So I don't have to worry about acting in ways that I may regret or question later. So I just want to share that as a shortcut because it has really, really shifted my life. And if you'll practice that for 2 weeks, I think you'll see incredible changes in your life. And the other thing that I've seen is that all of that time that I practiced the Course in Miracles, that's not wasted. And all of these other paths and all the other work that I did, it's all right there. But it gets overridden by what is coming up into consciousness as stress and fear, because that mind is not going to stop talking until we start listening. And mostly what we're doing is saying, you're bad and wrong, go away, let me meditate so that you won't show up. Let me go and do another class so that you don't bother me anymore. And it's not a problem until we make it one. And we identify with it, therefore we make a self-concept that we believe to be a problem. And that's what's talking. And it's basically saying, stop calling me bad and wrong. It's like a child, when you tell them they're bad before they've identified that concept, they don't know what you're talking about. So this is a way to go back, and then you get to go back with all the knowledge that you have now. And it's an amazing experience. So I hope that you'll try it. And if you have any questions or anything, please contact me through my website at bradsalon.com. And I'm happy to work with you and talk with you about anything that you want to talk about. So thanks for your listening, and I hope it serves you.